Hey, what's up, guys? Awesome back here with another video. This video ain't gonna be no fishing or anything, no reels or rods or baits or anything. But if you're looking for that, then you are gonna need to watch one of my other videos. But y'all hear me talk about giving back a lot. I've went over why I want, well, not why, but how to give back, why I want to and stuff. But I'm gonna talk about kind of a personal thing and how I got exposed to giving back and stuff. Well, I was a freshman in high school. Gabe Blair, he works at Martin's Peterbilt, phenomenal guy. Taught me a little bit about fishing, not a whole lot. But we had a tournament on Cumberland. First tournament I'd ever fished or anything. Didn't have a boat, just had some cheap rods. I had maybe four rods, five. I had one good one, and that was a St. Croix rod, and it was a spinning rod. But after all that, he didn't charge me a thing for taking me gas in the boat or nothing. I offered it to him, and my dad, you may think it's disrespectful, but he said, "You are taking money." And Gabe said no, and Dad, he put it in his shirt pocket. He said, "Well, thank you." He ended up counted it. It was $50. Well, I gave him an additional 20. So I was 70 because we really appreciated him taking me and my partner. Well, didn't catch a fish that day worth keeping. So came in with no fish. I didn't make the fishing team that year. Well, my sophomore year, I partnered up with a guy. Didn't know him a bit more than the man in the moon. Well, him and his dad had a bass tracker. Well, we went to Laurel and Cumberland, and that was the only two tournaments we fished. His dad couldn't take the cold, and I totally understood that. I didn't complain about it. I was thankful and grateful for him taking me. And I offered him money. My dad offered him money. No, he said because my boy he wouldn't make it without Austin. Ended up it got where he couldn't take the cold, and we couldn't fish. Didn't have another boat or nothing. So we would have made it that year, but we couldn't finish out the tournaments. I couldn't partner up with no one else or anything. So my junior year, Sam Baldwin, loved the man to death. An amazing man, and I can't say enough about him. I really can't. I'm lost for words, and it gets to me right to this day. He well, we was up at Dog Patch. They was having a big Christmas thing and stuff like that. They had Bill Lohan, I think. He's sponsored by Bill Lewis and not Bill Lewis, but the guy that makes rattle traps. I think it's Bill Lewis. If you know and can correct me, leave it in the comments, or if I'm right, leave it in the comments. But he's also sponsored by IMA, and stuff like that. So he's a FLW pro. Well, I didn't learn nothing from him. He wouldn't talk to me. He didn't seem like he was that nice a guy or anything, which I never went up to him. I never asked him anything. I figured me being a young kid, a bunch of us there, he'd set us over to the side and talk to us. So he may be a great guy. He talked to a bunch of them older guys, but not me or any of them younger ones. But that's on me. I didn't go up asking anything. Well, they was raffling off a lose Mac rod, mock rod, whatever you call it. And Sam said, if I win it, give it to Austin. Well, then it went on and on. He said, did you win it? Nope. He said, well, you fishing this year? I said, I ain't got a boat captain, so I can't. He said, I'll be your boat captain. His stepson had just got done fishing that last year. So I was competing against his stepson my sophomore year. Ended up, he said, find you a partner. I don't care who it is, and I'll take y'all. Well, found a partner. Is luckily one of my friends, and he'll tell you he can't fish that great. But anybody can catch a fish at any given time. So I didn't knock it or anything. I'm just like, okay, I got me a partner, got me a boat captain, and I'm set. Well, the first tournament was at Lake Cumberland, at a Burnside. Well, fished it, had 3 fish. Was sitting in third. Noah was sitting in second place. Noah Creech and Braden Bridges was ahead of us. Well, the second tournament was at Green River in Camelsville. Went over there, we sucked. Didn't catch a fish, didn't have a bite. 8 hours of fishing. I'm not ashamed to say it, I'll admit it. That is the lake I struggle with the most. I do not know how to catch them. Well, both tournaments he didn't charge me a thing. Ended up, the third tournament to qualify to make the team was on Cumberland. Well, we fished and fished and fished. Had 2 in the box. We went up a creek. He said, here. He said, slow that spinnerbait down. Well, I didn't know. I was throwing back like that and taking my rod like this, bringing it right down that bank. Well, when I'd hook set, I'd just go like that. He said, when that fish hits it, said you act like you're getting ready to flip the boat. Ended up, he said, throw down here. I threw down there, slow rolled that spinnerbait. When that fish hit, I missed him. I threw back, missed him again. He said, daggone, can you catch a fish? I threw back, and I said, I'm catching this thing this time. And I felt it. I went, set it real hard, and he dip netted it for me. And I mean, I figured it was like a 2 or 3 pounder because I hadn't seen that big a fish in my life really. I'd caught a 6.5, a 5, and never had caught a 4 until then. Never had caught a 3. I'd been seeing several 3s and 4s caught. My dad caught them in ponds, but I never caught one. I caught a 6.5 and a 5. Dad caught a 6.5 and a 5.5. And that was within the same month. That was in August, fishing a pond. Well, ended up, we had a tournament on Dale Hollow. We fished and fished. He ran his boat to a quarter of a tank and it was full. We had 1 fish all day. We had a delay on blast off, and if it wasn't for that, I think we would have qualified for nationals. That was going to be at Pickwick. And he said, if y'all qualify, I'll take you. Won't charge you a thing. But, of course, we'd had our eats and stuff like that. He was talking about wouldn't charge us for gas or stuff. Well, ended up, we didn't qualify. We placed 67 out of 190 something with 1 fish that weighed 1 pound 7 ounce. And I called it. So up until this point, he hadn't charged us a thing or anything. Taking us to tournaments, took me and my dad to Dale Hollow to pre-fish like 3 weeks before that tournament. Or anything. So, well, the region tournament rolled around us at Green River. Again, we sucked at Green River. We fished, we literally went across from the dock and fished a bank all day. And his trolling motor battery, I'm sure it was low, but it never did quit or nothing. So, he didn't charge us a thing. Ended up, region was coming around and he couldn't get off work. or anything, so he had his stepson take us. He said, "Here, take my truck, you can take my boat or your boat." His stepson was nice enough to take us in his boat, drive 2.5 hours to Campbellsville for us to pre-fish. Now, we caught a lot of fish, some bass, some bluegill, some crappie, some shell crackers, and we went in a cove, ended up, my partner started jacking them. He caught uh, one that was like 3.5 or 4, and one that was like 2 or 3. And I was like, "Why don't you do some tournaments?" He said, He said, "I get nervous." I was like, "Nervous? Why?" He said, "Just because I don't think I can compete with all these people." And about that time, Logan, he said, "You can compete with anything. It's a mental game. You have to come in thinking you are one of the best in the world. When you think that, you fish harder, you strive harder, and you fish like a pro, you just don't realize it." Well, come tournament time, we went all over that lake, and they changed the ramp on us last minute. So I couldn't remember the spots, didn't know how to get to them. I knew 2 spots, and the water was muddy. We ended up, we had 2 fish for a little over 6 or 7 pounds. It might have been like 6 and some ounces, I think it was. Yeah, 6 and some change. But we wasn't nowhere near qualifying for state. But he told us if we qualified for state, we would be doing good because his people lives down there on Kentucky Lake. He said, now nationals be a different ball game, but he wasn't going to charge us for anything. Never did charge us for anything. Never charged us for gas, his time, his wear and tear, or nothing. So my junior year, I got a free ride basically. Made the team, seen a lot. And senior year, now junior year, I did get messed over a tournament. Not going to touch on that. We know a fish measured a certain length, but it got kicked out because we all three measured it, looked at it, and stuff. It was a finicky fish. It was right on the mark, but it measured. So, not going to touch on that. Not going to say who done what or nothing. So, my senior year, I'm just like, I don't want to fish because I was blessed enough to be fortunate enough to have Sam to take us, to have Logan to take us, and stuff like that. Well, my junior year, my dad, he bought me my own boat. My first ever boat. We worked on it, worked on it, worked on it, and worked on it. Finally got it going. Well, we went out there, we're thinking, yeah, we're just going to follow our friends because we all planned the trip. We went out there, my boat motor would not start, so ended up, we fished around and caught some. I think we caught 4, all 4 keepers. Well, ended up, put boat on trailer, came home, worked on it, worked on it, worked on it, got it fixed, went, it worked, went again, it worked, went again, it worked, went again, it worked. That's all with my dad. Ended up, we went about 7 times in a row, 8 times in a row, and then he didn't want to go. Well, I'd get people to go with me. I took my ex-girlfriend Abby. We went. We went to Tyner, Woods Creek, and Laurel. So that's 3 trips. I took a young boy. We went to Tyner. We went there twice, not counting the tournament. I took John. We went to Laurel once. And this is all catching fish. I'm talking about not just one, but I'm talking about 4 to 12, sometimes 15 fish a day. So, I'm just like, well, I'm learning it. I'm getting it. Well, fished the tournament, starter locked up, won that tournament. I was like, wow, I guess it is true what they say. I am becoming one of the best. And if I keep fishing, I will be one of the best. About time I get uh, Sam's age or my dad's or other people's age. Well, ended up, me and Hunter Johnson, we went to Laurel and I locked my motor up. I got frustrated at it. It would not start. I hadn't been in like 2 or 3 weeks. It turned off cold and stuff. But we fished, caught nothing. Had some bites, had some follow ups, nothing. But ended up, I felt bad and stuff. But how I got frustrated at my boat was because it just and it hit twice. Ended up, I said, I'm going to flood you out or you're going to start one. Well, I was turning the key, hitting the pedal, and because it had a hot foot on it, it went run, 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 run. And I heard like a squeak or a squeal in it. I cut it off. When I went to start back, doom ta, doom ta, and it sounded like my starter was locked up. Took the head off, not the head, but the case off my motor, looked at it. Starter was locked up. It jumped up, hit the nut, and I couldn't get it. We fished, nothing. Brought it home, and we thought the motor locked up. Had another boy look at it. It locked up. When I sold him my motor, he said it was locked up. So the whole point of this is, if you've been blessed and fortunate, give God the glory and give back if you can. Now, I'm not saying put every penny you have in it. I'm not saying not to help. But that's why I do my swim baits, because I was a younger angler, didn't have a lot of money or anything. And I remember emptying out my wallet. That is not a good feeling. So once you lose them, then they're gone. So that's why I do that. But thank y'all for watching. Make sure to check out Tackle Spot, Dog Patch Trading Post, Saddlebrook Outdoors, and Kurt Singer Sunrise Outfitters. Make sure to let me know if you need any swim bait heads, please. But thank y'all for watching. Make sure to give God the glory. Be safe. Have fun. And I'm out.